It was a Tuesday morning when Martin Reyes pulled his cab into the turnaround outside Mercy Medical Center. He'd been on the road since 5 a.m., making short trips, mostly airport runs and hospital drop-offs. Nothing remarkable, until she climbed in. She didn't give a destination at first, just handed him a crumpled note with an address and looked away. Her eyes were red-rimmed. No luggage, just a black hoodie pulled tight around her face. Martin adjusted his mirror and caught the tremble in her hands. She was crying, but quietly, like she'd already run out of tears hours ago. The drive was about 27 minutes. Neither of them spoke. The only sound was the soft shuffle of cars and the click of Martin's turning signal. When they arrived, she opened the door, hesitated, and then turned to him. "I'm sorry," she said, barely audible. "I can't pay. I just needed to get away. I didn't know where else to go." Martin looked at her for a moment. He didn't ask questions, didn't lecture. He just shook his head and said, "Don't worry about it. Not everything in life has to come with a price tag." She stared at him like she couldn't quite process what he'd said. Then she nodded, stepped out, and disappeared down the block. No name, no explanation, just one ride and a car seat left slightly damp with tears. Martin thought that was the end of it. He had no idea what was coming next. Martin Reyes had never considered himself a hero. At 58, he lived a quiet, unremarkable life. A one-bedroom apartment above a laundromat, a pair of well-worn work boots by the door, and a morning routine that rarely changed. Strong coffee, a check of the tire pressure, and the same dented thermos filled with lentil soup his late wife used to make. He'd been a mechanic once, a good one, owned a modest shop with a hand-painted sign. But after the economy nosedived and his back gave out, he sold the business and started driving a cab. It didn't pay much, but it was simple work, reliable, real. Martin didn't talk much, unless a passenger wanted to. He gave veterans free rides on Veterans Day, slipped $5 bills into coat pockets when someone couldn't make rent, and always waited until the elderly made it safely to their door before driving off. Sometimes, he told me, all a person needs is a little more grace than the world's willing to give. He never talked about that crying woman to anyone, not even to his dispatcher, who always teased him for being too soft. But he didn't forget her either. Something about that silence, not broken, just swallowed, stayed with him. He thought about her on slow nights, on rainy afternoons, when the city looked washed out and tired. He never expected to see her again. But exactly 1 month later she returned, and this time she had something for him. It was a Wednesday, exactly 4 weeks after that quiet ride, when Martin spotted her again. He was parked in his usual spot near the public library, sipping lukewarm coffee, reading the classifieds out of habit more than hope. She approached from the corner, same black hoodie, same quiet eyes. But this time, she wasn't crying. He didn't recognize her at first, not until she stood by his window and said, "You don't remember me, do you?" Martin squinted. Then he saw it, the same face, but changed. Not less tired, exactly, just anchored, present. "I didn't think I'd ever see you again," he said. "I didn't think I'd ever come back," she replied. She held out an envelope. Inside were car keys and paperwork, registration, insurance, the works, all in his name. A brand new white sedan parked across the street. Martin blinked. "I don't understand." She smiled. tears springing back to her eyes, but they didn't fall this time. "I couldn't pay you that day," she said, "but what you gave me, it wasn't a ride, it was space. It was humanity when I felt like I had none left. That ride, your silence, saved my life." Martin stared at the keys. "I can't accept this. I didn't do anything." "Yes, you did," she said. "You didn't make me explain. You didn't make me feel small. You just let me be." And then she handed him the title and walked away. Her name was Natalie, 34, marketing executive on paper. But on the day she stepped into Martin's cab, she was just a woman unraveling. Her husband had died 3 days earlier. Sudden cardiac arrest. No warning, no time. One moment, they were planning a weekend trip. The next, she was sitting in a hospital hallway, holding a bag with his wedding ring and wallet inside, alone, numb, drowning in paperwork, condolences, and silence. She told no one, not even her brother, not yet. She just needed to leave, anywhere, just not there. So she walked out of the hospital, flagged the first cab she saw, and got in. Martin's quiet was the first kindness she'd felt since the world fell apart. No questions, no pity, no pressure. He didn't ask her name. He didn't need a story. He simply drove. After that day, she checked herself into a grief center, started showing up to therapy, talked, cried, screamed into pillows. Slowly, painfully, she started to breathe again. When her brother, the owner of a local dealership, asked what he could do, she said, "There's this driver. He didn't fix me, but he gave me a place to fall apart without shame. I need to find him." It took time, but she did. She tracked down the cab company, described the man, the route, the timestamp. "This car," she told her brother, "won't change his life, but maybe it'll remind him that what he does matters, that he matters." And that's how Martin got the keys. Martin didn't drive the new car right away. For days it sat in his assigned parking space under the street lamp, wrapped in early morning fog and disbelief. A gleaming white sedan, spotless, unfamiliar, too shiny for someone like him. Every time he passed it, he shook his head and muttered the same thing: "It's too much." His coworkers joked, called him Mr. Upgrade, took photos leaning against the hood. But Martin didn't laugh. He kept thinking about the envelope, the trembling hands that gave it to him, and the quiet weight of unspoken pain. He didn't want attention. He didn't want credit. He just didn't want her to feel more broken than she already was. In the end, it was the note she'd left tucked into the glove box that changed his mind. One sentence, handwritten in uneven script. "You helped me keep going. Please let this help you do the same." So, on a Sunday morning, Martin washed his hands with lemon soap, put on a clean flannel, and took the keys. He kept his old cab for backup, but the new car became his main ride. He didn't brag, didn't change his rates, still picked up old ladies from the pharmacy, still gave free rides to veterans on holidays. The only thing different was a small silver charm he hung from the rearview mirror, a teardrop-shaped crystal, a gift from her. He didn't tell passengers the story, but he touched it sometimes when traffic was slow and smiled. Weeks turned into months, and life, as it always does, settled back into rhythm. Martin drove his routes, nodded at familiar faces, kept a pack of mints in the glove box, and an emergency umbrella in the trunk. The city moved around him, fast and distracted, but every now and then, someone would sit in his back seat, with red eyes and trembling hands. A woman clutching divorce papers. A teenage boy with a hospital bracelet still on. A man staring out the window like he didn't know what came next. And Martin, always quiet, always steady, would do what he did best. He would drive. Sometimes, before they got out, he'd say a few words, barely above a whisper. Not advice, just presence. It's okay not to explain. You don't owe me anything. Some days, surviving is the victory. One rainy afternoon, a passenger asked him if he believed in karma. Martin chuckled, his eyes on the road. "Nah," he said, "but I believe people remember when you give them a little space to breathe." He didn't expect to see Natalie again, and he didn't. But that wasn't the point. She gave him something that day, yes, but not just a car. She reminded him that the smallest act of kindness, given without expectation, can echo louder than we ever imagine. And every time he turned the ignition in that quiet white sedan, Martin was reminded of one truth he never put into words. Sometimes, all it takes to change a life is one ride and no receipt.